So this is my current painting I'm working on. I'm super excited because if you know me, you know I love poodles. And I get to draw 4 toy poodles in this painting. So as you can see, I just have the house done here. I need to put in the bushes and the trees here to cover up the house. And right now I'm working on the grass, and I just wanted to give a little demo on how you can do some grass in several easy steps. And this is how I get it knocked out. So if you can see down here, I'm gonna angle this down here. This is just one super quick wash of a green color here, and that's just in watercolor. And I got this whole area wet first and then dropped in the watercolor here. And then I let that dry, and then the next step in here, I used some gouache paint that was really watered down. I'll have to do another video on how to use gouache because I know a lot of people haven't heard of it, but I really like it for its design qualities. But I did another wash with some watered down green here, so it's just one step darker here. And then the next step I did, you can see over in here, you start to get this grassy texture, and I did that really easily, and I'm gonna show you how to achieve that right now. Over on this side, I started over here, and I'm just gonna work on a little bit and show you my technique and what brush I'm using. So I have this chisel blender. It's a number 2 chisel blender, and it just has this flat kind of rectangular shape here. So I'll get a little bit of paint onto my brush, and then I will just make little diagonal marks like this. Just little, I'll just almost kind of dab it. And as the paint starts to run out, I just kind of blend outward and get some more paint, and then work in another spot. And by doing that, you'll naturally get a subtle variation in your tones. Now I like to use the underpainting, like this painting underneath this, so that you don't have any of your white paper showing through. That just ends up taking too much time if you just start to kind of do this grass technique over top of white. You'll see all of the white through. But this way, if you just have and it's a different color green, this has a little bit more brown. I use like a little yellow ochre color, and then mix it with a light green. And then this darker green I have mixed with a burnt sienna color, so it's a little bit darker. But you can see some of the other green shining through, kind of like if we go down here, you know, there are darker areas, and then you have the lighter areas, but you can see the green through there. So that's achieved through your underpainting, and you don't have to be particular about the underpainting. As you can see, mine's super choppy. I mean, like, you could do that with your eyes closed, get that laid in, and then come in with these grass strokes over it. And again, as you can see, I'm just doing a little tiny bit of a dab with the pointed part, because it almost just simulates this grass texture as I just kind of dab on here. So then this would be my next layer of grass, and I'll show you some of the subsequent layers and then how I handle that, because some of back here up in this background, I might just end up leaving this texture here, since the background kind of fades in and has less detail. But up here, I'm going to add some lighter and some darker pockets for sure. And I kind of just play it by ear. and see how the picture is developing. Whenever I do something it's natural, you kind of just have to see what's going on with it. Take it from there. You can't have too many plans. Definitely have a lot, but you don't want to be limited by it. And you'll notice that I don't have my dogs drawn painted in yet. I of course wanted to paint those first, but I wanted to do the grass first because I like to think of the paint, especially when you use gouache paint, in terms of the layering, because it has a little bit of a texture to it. It's, you know, kind of more like an acrylic, which, you know, like you can build up a really thick texture. And when you have texture build up, that you use that more in the foreground and less in the background. As you can see here, this sky is super light, just with some light washes. And then I have the trees in here with a little bit of gouache, but it's a little bit watery. And then the house, I get an even thicker coat. And then same when I put these trees in, and again, I did the house, and I'm gonna put the trees over it so that you have those tree marks always covering over the house. So same for when I do these dogs, I wanna have the grass at least mostly done, at least getting this texture, and you can add in other stuff around it, but I like to be able to come in and put the strokes over top because they're gonna overlap. And if they overlap your grass, then it looks like your dog is in front of the grass, which is what you want. So I kind of think about stuff like that. So it's kind of good for me to get some of the boring stuff out of the way, because this is a good meditation, but definitely not the most fun part. So I just wanted a lot of this grass texture in before I started work on the poodles. But I also wanted to do a little demo on the grass because it's something that's definitely easy. And a lot of people will ask me, you know, it looks like you did every blade of grass. And I guess to some extent, you know, I am kind of, but maybe not every single blade. But you definitely want to get that texture in, I guess. And when I do the next layer over top of this, excuse the weed whacking in the back. I was trying to avoid that, but art waits for no man. So the more layers that I put on this, because I do have some water, a little bit more water mixed in than I would usually use for final layers of gouache. And that's just because I don't want these under layers to be thicker than the top layers. So if you're doing highlights on top, so for example, all of these dark lines here on this house, I put those using a thinner wash. So then when I did my last layer of the light part, it looks like it's sitting on top of the dark, and it's definitely kind of hard to see here, but why I think a lot of times work that looks real in real life, you can kind of get that look if in some way you can create texture in your painting. And I would do that a lot with my pastel drawings, put the light on last and just layer all of the lights over top of the dark first, because the dark shadow you want to, you know, push back into the background, and then you want the light to come up. So same as we wouldn't have so much contrast back here. So like I said, you know, I might end up leaving all of this just like this, but as I move forward, I might have some areas that have a super dark, or some areas that you know, almost white blades, because you want to have more contrast up here at your foreground. And then even this grass way down here might even have the most contrast and have the biggest blades of grass, because this is in the very front of the picture. So back to my blades. So you can see sometimes when I start, it'll start off kind of dark, but the more of these little marks that you make, it starts to lighten up a little bit. And I don't go in any particular, like I don't just do row, 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 because then I feel like it kind of looks like a machine did it. It doesn't look so natural, so I'll kind of try to do it in a more organic fashion. And you can even, you know, put these strokes to the side a little bit in some areas, you know, to show that the different direction that the grass is growing. Just try to be natural about it. And I don't look at a photo or anything when I'm trying to do natural stuff like this, because I found it just takes too much time to try to make every single area look, you know, exactly like how it does in the picture, because no one cares about that picture at the end of the day. I mean, they just mostly care that your painting looks awesome. So you know, I might come in and do something like this, so then I have, you know, my areas of the lighter paint get kind of spread out. Especially when you're coming around something, you don't want to necessarily make it look too even. So you want to have light areas and dark areas, so it looks a little bit more accurate. And by kind of letting the paint run out as you know, make these little lines, these tiny strokes, you're getting your variation between light and dark just in different areas. Because if you know, look at the overview of the grass, you're gonna have areas, you know, pockets of light and dark. That's just natural for everything. So that's how I put in the first few layers of my grass. I check back in and show you how I do the next layer when I get that in. But for now, happy painting to all you shiny humans. Peace.